Hey, 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 run for your life. Hey, 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 run for your life. Hi, welcome back to A Thousand Eyes in One. Presents to you Wine on an Empty Stomach, our
What?
speculative fiction book club.
Exactly. Yeah, you know exactly what's happening right now. Boom. Muted. I wasn't ready this time. I was
It's all right.
distracted by Tanya's glorious assets.
I'm quite rich.
Bitch.
Yes, today we are doing a bonus book club for Caribbean American Heritage Month. Pow! Wicked Weeds
Ow.
by Pedro Cabiya, translated by Jessica Powell.
Mm-hmm. This,
Um,
ladies and gentlemen, was an impulse buy.
yes.
Because we were playing D&D and we can't resist a bookstore. And we knew that we wanted to do an extra book this month.
Yeah, so we went to go find the very tiny Caribbean section. Very tiny. We share
It
it
was
with
like
the Latin
7 books.
American. Yeah. In fact, the book is Wicked Weeds. They only had one copy in the store. So I had to order one online because the library didn't have it either. I'm guessing because it's a translation. The book
Yeah,
itself came out in
maybe.
2016.
But that's like
Um,
long enough to like one, get an audiobook.
yeah, there's no
Two,
audiobook.
we should record the audiobook. Hey Pedro,
I'm
we're super
trying
duper
to see.
down.
Yeah, there's an ebook and there's the physical copy, the paperback. I don't know if I didn't see any hard copies when I was looking online, and I could not find an audiobook. And the library didn't have it either.
Hmm.
So there you have it.
Yeah. You know what is interesting, or just like maybe a little bit of a coincidence to this book, which I didn't realize until last night. Well, first of all, it's a fast read. It's a
Very
fast
fast.
read.
It's like
I didn't have time to
158
read it
pages.
before, but I finished it last night, and then I read it this morning, the whole thing from front to back. It took me
Wow.
like 2 hours. Yeah, I was just like
Yeah,
zoom
it's a
zoom. I
short
met my
read.
nephew. I was like, "Can I do it?" He was like, "Sure, Auntie Doctor Nefertiti Titi." Um, but yeah, it's a fast read. But it struck me last night while I was reading it that it's kind of like we've got a theme for June,
Do
Lady
we?
Tanya. Yeah. I mean, our next book has people waking up from the dead too, allegedly.
Oh, you're
Um,
right.
yeah. We didn't, we don't discuss things beforehand. Also I might freeze because I'm not in my usual location. But I feel like this one, I feel like I don't want to, I feel like it's kind of spoilery and I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah. But like to get
Whew.
into it, you kind of have to, right?
Oh, man.
We're
So
gonna
Tanya
so
told
this is
me
gonna have a spoiler. This is gonna have a spoiler. I'm sorry. We're spoiling the ending of this
we're
book.
spoiling the ending and it's too bad. We're so sorry. Just forget.
It's it's hard to talk about without
You
talking
know what?
about the
Let's
ending.
give everybody an out. If you want to read this amazing zombie novel, stop watching here. Spend 2 hours, go read it, come back. Cuz you really don't want us to spoil this for you.
No.
You really don't. It's too good.
So it gives you the option to read it front to back in order or to jump around by section because it's
Mhm.
basically a collection of one of the characters. It's a scrapbook she put together with our zombie, with his
Eh,
journals.
eh, eh.
It's his journals, it's interviews she did with the police,
Mhm.
she and some of her coworkers, and recollections from her cousin that she translated from Haitian Creole to Spanish, which of course we're reading in English. This story takes place at like the Haiti Dominican Republic border,
Cheers.
and cheers, and it touches on a little bit of the tension between Haitians and Dominicans.
Putting it
But
lightly, mildly.
yeah, yeah, it just kind of touches on it. But the main thing is that there's this gentleman zombie, highly educated, has a very good job,
Mhm.
Brilliant scientist, but he's a zombie, and he's trying to find a cure while also trying to hide that he's a zombie. He's completely clueless about
Clueless. Social
everything.
interactions.
All social interactions. I see some people just joined. Again, this is gonna have lots of spoilers, so if you don't wanna be spoiled, because it's, like, major spoiler. So if you don't
Major
wanna be
spoilers.
spoiled, again, go read it. It takes, like, 2 hours, 3
2
hours,
hours.
and then
It's
come back. It's
yeah, when we
160 pages, like, you can
yeah,
knock it out pretty quickly.
yeah. And that doesn't include the appendix. But yeah. Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Were you surprised in all the zombie movie references? Because he is a connoisseur, right? Because he's
He
looking for
studied.
this. Were you surprised that they didn't mention the serpent and the rainbow?
You know, I actually hadn't thought about it,
Yeah.
but
It
you would
feels like
think
it's
so,
right in
right?
that wheelhouse. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Especially, given the people who are in there and the mentions of zombie dust and stuff. I was like, oh my God, they're gonna get to it eventually, and they never did.
Yeah, you're right. I hadn't even thought about that. Did you end up reading it section by section, or did you read it beginning to end?
I like chaos. In the very beginning, there's this thing, it's like, hey, you can read it straight front to back, or you can like read it section by section. Um, Either way, you're probably gonna be confused, and they were right. But this morning when I read it front to back. And then last night I was like, let me just read the edge. So the way that I grouped it was I tried to find his recollections first, like his diary entries, and then I did the police ones, and then I just did like the other random ones. Um, I enjoyed it that way, but it was honestly I had to like keep track on a piece of paper, be like, okay, I read that one, check, I read that one, check.
Yeah, I just did it front to back, and I enjoyed it that way. I felt like the story unfolded really well that way. And I was worried that if I had skipped around, that certain things wouldn't make sense or would be spoiled before I
Hmm.
was ready for it.
Yeah.
What did you think?
Um, Not really. It was still kind of just like, oh, because like her story or the cousin story I kind of like read all together. Um but what was interesting to me at first was Dionysus, his conversations with him, because I really thought they were at a bar.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, we have Isidore's journals.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sorry, it's Isidore's scrapbook. We have Isidore's cousin's recollections. Do you want to talk about that? Because that felt so separate from everything else, but
Yeah,
also at the same time was telling us that there are in fact zombies.
there are in fact zombies. Were they zombies or were they just slaves?
They
It
were
was kind of hard
definitely
to tell.
slaves. They were definitely slaves. Um,
Like how they didn't talk about it, like,
yeah, they were definitely slaves. As far as the zombie part, I think I need to reread all of her recollections to like get a
yeah,
good feeling on exactly what was going on there because
yeah.
it's yeah,
It's
it's
so like, honestly, this was such a fun read, but it was also mad confusing,
yeah. I wish I'd
and
had time to read it twice. I tried to, but
yeah,
I just didn't have the time.
dude, honestly, you're still gonna be confused. It's just as perplexing, um, and there are so many moments where you're like, "Oh," when you go back and you read it, just like, "Oh, this room," and, his assistants are bringing him in and out of the room at a designated time each day.
Mhm.
Um Oh, hold on a second. I'm getting a text. Shout out to Ramses, currently texting me.
Uh-oh, you broke up.
Uh,
We lost Nikki.
I think I'm gonna keep breaking up because am I back? Am I back? Am I back?
You're back. I heard
Oh,
shout
now
out
you're
to
frozen.
Ramses.
Yeah. Um, yeah. No. What was I saying before that? Yeah, because there would be times where they'd bring in, he would talk about Dionysus and be like, hey, his assistants come in and take him out at the same time every day. And you're just like, oh, right. Um, I don't know. We're jumping all over the place
Yeah.
because maybe that's because of how I read it, but there's so much that happens here.
And they also mentioned his masked assistants.
His masked assistants, right?
Yeah.
Should we just spoil it right now so we can get into it and explain why this is fucking confusing?
But let's talk about what happened.
Okay.
So, what is the protagonist's name? We don't get a name for him, do we?
He's never named. No,
Yeah.
he's never named, which is what led me to think that he was Pascal.
Pascal? Wait, who's Pascal? Oh no, Nikki's frozen again.
Oh, he was a. Oh, I am frozen. Spot this. I know. I keep freezing. I'm looking. I'm seeing the YouTube. I'm frozen. Damn. It's because I'm at my parents' house and their Wi-Fi leaves a lot to be desired. I'm also in the basement, which is stupid far. It's disappointing. And I don't know that my hotspot would be any better, but I can try that.
Pascal. Who is Pascal?
Yeah, Pascal is a cousin who came to visit from the city.
Oh, right.
Right.
I had not considered that he's Pascal.
Yeah. You know, they jumped the fence, and I feel like he lost his damn mind.
He lost his mind.
He lost his mind.
I had not considered that he might be Pascal. See, this is why it's good to have somebody to talk to it about.
Mm-hmm. And I didn't think about it the first time, but there's something that happened. I can't remember if I marked it or not. I probably didn't, because I was like, I'll remember that. Shout out to my short-term memory not being trash today. And I was just like, holy shit. Because she talks about, you know what I had to do to like track it? Because she marries her cousin, whoever this is. Because is she named? I don't think she's named either.
Who, the cousin?
The cousin.
Yes, Sandrine.
Is Sandrine, because she talks about how she went away to school and she was just like trying to get out of there after like these things that happened. And then she made two other friends, only two friends. And I was like, oh, these are the girls that she went to school with. They graduated from the same place. And then they ended up working in the lab together. That's why I was like, oh, it's the cousin who got treated like a slave when she went to visit the aunts and uncles in the cities. Because I had to Targaryen family tree that shit. I was like, okay, if they're cousins and his father is her uncle, but their kid's father, but their kid's like, it was so confusing.
So Isidore and Sandrine are cousins.
Mm-hmm. But was it Sandrine? It's Sandrine's her recollection.
It's Sandrine's recollection about the zombies and Pascal. So I don't think that he can be Pascal, because that would have been Isidore's cousin as well.
But didn't Isidore's cousins married her cousin? Yeah.
Wait, who got married?
That's what I was saying. It's never outright. Because you've got the cousin, you've got Isidore, you've got Sandrine, whose name I just wiped out of my brain as soon as it was mentioned.
She only mentions her name once when she's saying whose recollection it is. But who got married? I'm very confused.
Hold on. Let me refer to the text. I had bookmarks in here too. I should have marked this.
There's a lot of information in 160 pages.
Dude. And it's like every time you read it, it does not really clear up. Let's see. Okay. Page 44.
That's where I am.
Okay. Blah, 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 blah. City of ridiculous. Don't blame her. It's same as your father. It was the same with your father. It didn't matter that we were cousins. 45. Second para.
But what does that say about anybody getting married?
Because if your father and if we were cousins, wait a second, hold on. I'm thinking they were cousins because they got married.
Because who got married?
Unless they're talking about Isidore and
Isidore's father and Sandrine. I'm assuming Isidore's father and Sandrine's father are brothers.
Right. But if Isidore and Sandrine are cousins and Isidore kept going to see the family in the city, then wouldn't and Pascal is her
No,
cousin.
Sandrine kept going to see the family in the city. Isidore is telling a Sandrine
Oh, right.
story.
I keep forgetting that. Okay.
Yeah, Sandrine was the one going to see the family in the city and getting treated like a slave, not Isidore.
Right. So then does
Isidore,
that make
Sandrine,
Sandrine and Pascal cousins?
Sandrine and Pascal are cousins, and Sandrine is telling Isidore these stories.
Hmm. This requires a third read.
Yeah. So yeah, it wasn't Isidore
Oh,
going
we
to
are
visit the
confused.
city. It was Sandrine going to visit the city. Isidore lives in the Dominican Republic.
Dude, I think this is the most confusing book we've ever read.
Well, the thing is, it's like when each chapter, when you start it, you don't jump in knowing who's talking immediately.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not
Exactly.
labeled. So you have to use like the context as you read it to put a
You're
voice
not
to it.
giving us George R. Martin
Yeah, it doesn't
chapter
say
to
like Bran. Yeah.
Bran's
So
POV.
Sandrine is the cousin who was going to the city and getting treated like a slave.
Poor girl.
And yeah, poor Sandrine. Um, and I believe that that was taking place in Haiti, I think. Isidore
I think so too.
Isidore lives in the Dominican Republic, was born in the Dominican Republic, but her parents are Haitian. That's why her best friend's
Mhm.
mom treated her badly and didn't really want them to be friends. Then we have the story of
Yep.
Isidore's friend and her mom having this zombie where she was like, I can get you some more, was selling them like a Tupperware party, she says.
Yo, that was wild.
Yeah.
That was wild. She's there having a study, like a study session with her friend, and the mom shoos them out there. She's like, I got visitors coming. It just seems like a normal like get together. They're drinking wine. They got charcuterie boards. Um, they're talking about their husbands, their daughters, all of this shit, and then they start talking about their household help.
Hmm.
They're like, fuck those maids. We can't trust them. They steal. They try to seduce your husbands. They're lazy. Da 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 da. And what's her Adeline?
I believe it was Adeline. And
Adeline's
Valerie
her
was
name?
the daughter,
Yeah, or
right?
Adeline. Okay. Right, Adel. Yeah, so Adeline and Valerie. Adeline is the mama, and she's like, "Oh, guys, guess what? I've got a solution to this problem."
In walks the zombie. What was her name? Did you know how to pronounce that?
Yes, she is.
Gracius. Gracius.
Yeah, yes, she is.
I sorry to anybody with that name. I don't know how to pronounce it.
We're sorry. We're
Uh
fucking up pronunciations left and right.
yeah, it's really bad. I probably could have
I went with
Googled it.
Cassius.
But anyway,
Here
she's
we
a
are.
zombie. She's black. She's a zombie. Um
Yeah.
she's dressed in like poorly fitting ratty clothes. And Adeline's like, well, she works in the wash house, so there's no point in dressing her up nice. And her
Can we
friends are
talk about her
asking like,
lidless eyes?
yeah, it made me think her eyes are just rolling all over the place, like
Yeah,
googly
because they
eyes.
said, like, lidless eyes, and I was just like, "Did they cut off her eyelids? Because 'Cause they're just like,
I
and it
thought she
says
was
that they're
just
just going around
staring.
talking about the rest of them.
Yeah,
Just like
I took it as she was just staring.
that stereotypical the stereotype of the blank stare associated with slaves. Thank you for the compliment. It was Ramsey.
So
Hi, Ramses. Thank you for telling us we look great. Ooh, Tanya, where'd you go? Oh shit, is it just me? Oh, I have to wait for her to come back, guys. I say every once in a while this happens, so maybe it wasn't my internet after all. Let me text her. Boom, boom, boom. Let's see. Are you still there?
I
Come back.
accidentally X'd out. I am so sorry.
I was texting you. I was like, well, what can we do in the meantime? Let us plug our next book club, Elantris by
I
Brandon
don't
Sanderson.
see comments.
Oh no, it was the text that I received. I'm being trolled.
Oh,
Kinda.
okay. Stop reading text messages.
It popped up. I'm on D&D now. D20.
I was like, I'm not seeing these messages. Um So anyway, our zombie friend, our gentleman doctor, PhD zombie, he is trying to find a cure. He's also trying to understand these women that he works with. They shows first of all, he is absolutely sexually attracted to all three of them. They all look
All
different.
3 of them.
They all look completely different. So he doesn't even have a type. But they're
Yeah.
all very sexy apparently.
Very sexy.
And
It's so funny because you kept telling me how funny the book was, and I was like, "Yeah," but I hadn't had a chance to dive into it, and, like, the part where he's talking about, "Oh, well, I go up in my office and I spend the first part of my day, and then, you know, I have to go in the lab, and I spend so much time in the lab that I just needed to pick a space," and then he describes the 3 women and just how hot each and every single one of
yeah,
them is, and then he's like, "Yeah, I don't know why I picked that lab to work out of, but, it seemed because they had an empty space and I'm claustrophobic from being in
yeah,
a
it has the glass
coffin
walls, has nothing to do with her sexy legs or her tight midriff. And
or her
you know,
giant
he
titties."
yeah, like he describes each one in very like sexual, like he's absolutely attracted to them and like
But
very sexually
oblivious to the
attractive to them.
attraction.
And he describes these feelings as like he felt like there were feathers in his stomach. He felt like he's being choked. At one point, later on, when one of them is kissing him, he gets an erection. I forgot how he described it, but it was absolutely
Well, because he had
ridiculous.
his finger up her butt,
Yeah,
and
he
he's
put
like,
his
"My
finger.
finger disappeared up her butt, and it appeared between my legs."
Yeah, can you say that
I
again?
was
You
like,
broke up.
"Yo." I
Can you
said that
repeat
he
what you said?
let me repeat this. Yeah.
Yes.
I was saying that he was fingering her in the booty hole, and he said his finger disappeared and magically appeared between his legs, and then he screamed and ran away. There were so many times in this book where I, like, legitimately laughed out loud, and my nephew's like, "What's so funny?" I was like, I can't
Oh,
tell
here
you."
it is. Submerged in an unbreakable trance and moaning continually, Patricia Julia began to chew my finger by rapidly relaxing and contracting her anus, a pulsing parody of the digestive process. My index finger was consumed little by little, but as it slowly disappeared from my hand, it slowly reappeared as if magic between my legs. I screamed. I was I was laughing I was laughing so much when I read that because what? Like, what do you mean you guys are in the club and you started fingering her in the butt? Like, what is happening right now? Like, that's all I kept
Like,
saying was
"What?"
like, what is happening right now? So he makes out with all of them. He hits the different bases with all of them. Each one he runs away from, terrified.
Each one has been
Um,
trying to trap him into these actions forever.
to the point that they're beginning to have rivalry between the three of them, whereas they
Yeah.
started off as friends. So he must be a very attractive. I mean, think about it. He's a well-to-do,
Mhm,
educated
mhm.
bachelor. You know,
This is
he's
what led me
probably
to
very
think that he might
attractive.
This is what led me to think that he was Pascal, because his parents had money, right? He went and he had the summer hot boy glow up where he suddenly became super hot and all of her friends were, like, vying for his attention, um, and then his parents died and left him tons of money.
But wouldn't Isadora have known him if he was Pascal?
She never says that she doesn't, because he does say later in the book, he's like, "I felt like I knew her," and when he goes to her house, she's like, "Well, I should tell you." I don't know. It's crazy. There's so much confusion.
In any case,
So much confusion. We
he
should, you know what? We should should be the book that we go do our reading date on.
okay. I'm down for that. And you know, anybody who watches this later, please feel free to comment and tell us what you think because again, I didn't have a chance to reread it. I
Yeah.
only got to read it through once. Um and I didn't take notes. I just read it. So
Yeah.
I do want to go back. So you
And
understand now why I said once I finished reading it, I immediately wanted to go back to the beginning and just read it
yeah,
again.
absolutely. Absolutely. When I got to the end, I was like, "Oh, wait." And then everything started to make sense. I'm so mad I didn't take notes because I had like these 2 bookmarks from Ram and Alley and they got lines on them.
Oh yeah, they have the lines on them.
Yeah, I should have taken notes. Um, but yeah, it was so funny because even like he's like, "Oh, I chose that section," and he's telling Dionysus, like, "You know what? Suddenly, like, there started to be smells," and he's like, "What kind of smells?" He's like
He was
floral."
like Dionysus was like decay. He's like, no, floral
And he's like, "No."
fragrances. They start doing their
Yeah, he
hair, they
was
start
so leaning
wearing
into it.
makeup.
Mhm.
Uh,
I mean, it
one
seems
of
like
them
they were
takes him
already, like,
home,
letting all their things hang out, which is like, "Whatever, do what you want, doctor."
but they're also a little bit crazy. I can't remember which one. I think it was Patricia Julia who slashed his tires so that he would need a ride to
No.
her place.
Was
Was
it
that
her? No, I think it was Isadora who did it because they found the knife.
right in her glove compartment?
Isadora, because
I couldn't remember which one it was.
she I'm so mad I keep freezing. Oh, I was gonna try this hotspot.
Do you want to try it?
Yeah, I'm gonna try it.
All
In the
right.
meantime, plug our shit.
Our next book club, this is the commercial break. Dun, 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 commercial break. Our next book club is Elantris by Brandon Sanderson. We are finally doing a Sanderson book. This was his first one,
Finally.
and
I'm
it's
so
an
gassed.
excellent read. Like Nikki said, it also kind of deals with uh, people
The
coming
undead?
allegedly back from the dead, kind of undead people. One
Kind
of
of.
my favorite lines from the very beginning is eternity ended 10 years ago. I was sucked in from that moment on. So the
So great.
date for that, I
BRB.
believe, is July 21st. Let me double check before I commit to that. As always, at 2 p.m. It will be a Sunday. July 21st, Elantris. The link, I'll share the link right now so you can save it and know where to find us. We are also back on House of the Dragon. Our first episode for that was already released. So you should go and find it. It's here on YouTube as well as on the podcast. We are obviously going to watch tonight and record again. What else do we have coming up? We haven't planned our next 30 Tuesday, but we will. We were supposed to do X-Men this month, but life started lifing, and so we didn't get a chance to.
It's not
Nikki's
better.
back.
I'm
Oh,
back and it was equally trash.
that sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, super excited. We've wanted to get a Brandon Sanderson book in forever. But all most of his books are
Yeah.
too long. And this is a standalone, sort of.
Yeah, there's like a little side story, but this is pretty much a standalone.
Yeah.
Although it absolutely feels like there could have been more to it,
I
you
don't I
know.
think he
But we
may
can
be
talk about
writing
that
a
when we're
second
doing it.
one.
Okay, I
Yeah, I
was
think
gonna
he
say
may
we
be
can talk
writing a
about
second
that
one.
when we do
Yeah.
Elantris.
I can't wait.
Back to
Okay.
Wicked Weeds.
Wicked
One
Weeds.
of them shows him pictures of herself, starting off with the three of them at the beach, the three women at the beach. Then it turns into like her bikini shots, and then her like taking off her bikini, then her nude with like silk sheets and things like that. And he's like, "Wow, this is great. You could totally be a model."
Like anyone would scout you. You're natural. And the thing is like he's so aloof that he keeps saying things like that and they get really pissed off because they're like, oh my God, they each want to be the one to tempt him.
Right.
And they just get like they get super frustrated. They're like, oh my God, this is pointless. And then, they speed off in their
At one
cars
point
and
he
drive
even says
away.
to her, that the modeling is great, the photographs aren't that great, but it's not your
But
fault.
the
You're not a
lighting is
photographer.
trash.
Yeah, he's like, it's not your fault. It's the shortcomings of digital photography, and you're not a
Yeah.
photographer.
There's
And she's
a
just
lot
like,
to be
bro,
desired.
yeah. Anyway, and another important thing that happens in Isidore's recollections is that her friend Valerie and the mother Adeline,
Mm-hmm.
one day dad comes home and hacks them to death with a machete. That same
It's
day
like
that
the
she was
same
there
day, right?
studying. Yes,
The
the same
same
day she
day.
was there studying, shortly after she left, he came home and hacked them to death with a machete.
And it's so
And
funny because the way that he writes it is just like, we were supposed to have a lunch date the next day and she never showed up because her dad came home with a machete and like hacked her and her mom to death.
it just
And when I
ends.
read that, I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
And he was
it
like,
just
ethnic
ends.
language.
Yeah.
No. It's so wild. Like there are just so many things that he drops casually in here. This is the first time I've read anything by him, but now I'm
Same.
going to be investigating. And it is one of those books that you're like, damn, now I wish I could like, speak and read Spanish to like read it. It's
Yeah, I
beautiful.
would love to be able to read it in Spanish to get like the full
But
feeling.
shout out
I
to
don't know.
the translation because, you know, still great.
Brava. Well done.
I need a cupbearer, Tanya.
I do too. My children are too short and they spill.
I could see my mom be like, my nephew's coming down here. Like, where are you going with that bottle? Because I don't want him right up and down. I'm gonna make it easy for him. I want it to be convenient.
Yeah. Should we get into the spoilery parts?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
now I'm like, I don't know if I want to spoil it, but I
I don't
already
know if
said
I
I was
want to
going
spoil it
to.
either. Like, what else can we talk about that's not spoilery? We can talk about the farm.
Let's talk about the farm.
Let's talk about the farm. Okay, so Sandrine, she lives, I don't want to call it like a peanut colony. Oh, 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 wait, before we get to that, you remember the part where Adeline is just like, she's like, you can feed them whatever, like once or twice a week, whatever, but never salt. Never
Yeah, never
salt.
salt.
Never salt. And then when you go and they're in Isadora's apartment, she has a book, something called like "Don't Give Slaves Salt" or something. And I didn't catch that on the first read, and I was just like, oh. So now I need to know
All
what
right,
that's
do
about.
some Googling.
Do some googs. Because if they are supernatural, then if you have any supernaturally inclined family members, they will tell you if you want to ward off evil, you sprinkle salt in your doorways and in the corners of your home. It's like witchy stuff, right? Circle of salt. You'll be protected if you're in the circle of salt. All this stuff. So I was wondering if it might like break them out of their spell, which was interesting because like even what was his name? Vincent. Pod Vincent. Was it Pod? I'm like making that up. Is it Pod Vincent? Um, packages.
Focus.
Yeah. Um, he was like, don't take your cousin across the river. And I was noting that like all of their peanuts like were unsalted. So I don't
Aha,
know what that's about.
I
Let's
found
talk.
it.
Tell
A
me.
major concern in Haitian folklore concerning zombies is the act of feeding salt to a zombie. While zombies are usually not particularly dangerous, giving them salt will return their senses and restore their personality. This will
Mm,
lead the zombies to attack the Bokor who created them or to return to their place of burial for their final death.
I like that.
That's really cool.
That is really
This is
cool.
such a good book. This is
Salt.
absolutely something I could read over and over. Although it's
Dude,
not the same once you get to the very end and
I mean, honestly, it is though.
spoiler, 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 spoiler. It makes
Honestly,
it
it
makes
is.
the reread with that in mind, it makes the reread a completely different read.
Mm-hmm.
All
Yeah.
right, let's go ahead and spoil it. Or do we need more time?
Let's see what else we can do without spoiling it for now. Um, yeah, so there's peanuts and there's cashews. There's peanuts and cashews. So on one right side of the river where Sandrine and Pascal come from, there's a peanut. That's what they do. They make money like farming peanuts. On the other side of the river, there's a cashew farm. And everybody knows that you're not supposed to cross the river to go where the cashew farm because something about the cashew growers is a little bit strange. They're zombies. And they only come out at night. They're guarded. I'm not going to look up his name. I'm not
By
big
the
enough.
old man. The
By
old
the
man
old
with
man
the
with
gun.
the gun. Jinx. They're guarded by the old man with the gun, and everybody knows. Just like the kids, everybody knows. You don't cross the river. You don't jump the fence. You don't eat cashews. Stay on your side and you eat peanuts. That's what you do. But because Sandrine is jealous that Pascal comes and takes over all her friends, ruins her plans for destruction because she's so mad. Like she goes to the city to his place and he doesn't stick up for her, nothing. So she's like, "Oh, you're coming out here, city boy? Oh, I'm gonna make your life hell."
Mm-hmm.
All her plans backfire. Poor girl. Her friends become his friends. They don't even call her to come outside and play anymore. The mom is spoiling him. She's like, "Oh, this backbreaking Lager is gonna ruin him." They're like, no, the teams are fighting over him because he's like, yo, no, I want to get like buff and stuff so I can fight my friends, fight the guys at home who make fun of me. Except because of all this bravado, one day Sandrine, she lays a trap and this motherfucker walks right into it.
She sends him over the fence, which you're not supposed to do.
Have you ever had a fresh cashew?
No.
Your light just got super
orange. Yeah. I noticed it too. There we go.
It became a ripe cashew just now.
It's doing it again. That is so weird.
I love it. It's like you have a solar eclipse passing over you.
No, I don't like it. Yeah, I don't know what to do. It did it on its own. Now I'm like all red.
Always, forever. And if you don't know where that's from, watch our Joyride live stream.
This is gonna drive me nuts. Go ahead.
Yeah. So he's like, she didn't like double dog dare him, but basically did. And he's like, I'm gonna jump over the fence. What color do you want? And she's like, red. But at this point, like all of her friends are kind of like, you know, they got a little bit of a wet puss for him. And it's true. The girls anyway. So he's like, whatever, bet, jumps over the fence, and she's like, no, don't really do that shit. And
it's Gracious who comes to
let him. She was gonna let him like go over the fence and be like, whatever, I'm done with this. But then she sees Gracious jump the fence in like a single bound, like Superman, and run after him.
Because she knows.
She knows. Does she know, or does she like just want to save him because she's got the hots for him?
Gracious? I think she knew about the danger and was like, oh shit, they're not supposed to go back there.
I think she wanted to save him.
Also, if Gracious was over there, where is Adeline? Did
that? Well, I think
taken in by another family.
I think she imported her. Because the way that I'm reading it is this is Gracious. The way that I read it was that Gracious, this is where she gets transformed into a zombie, right? Homeboy, we got the two sides, the peanuts and the cashew. Homeboy, whose soul basically got stolen later after he escaped from prison. He turned her into a zombie and then exported them, you know, sold them out. And the reason I think that is because when Adeline is describing, when they're describing Gracious, she's got like the little shirt, she's got the little yellowed skirt. It looks like she's just been neglected for all this time. And I was like, oh my God, did they just leave this girl in the same clothes that they kidnapped and made her a zombie into? And they keep describing her as like long arms, like Simeon, right? Like long arms. And they always, Sandrine, whenever she talks about her, she like uses terms that you refer to like primates and monkeys. It's terrible. So I just assumed that Jay just kept her in her dirty rags.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Nikki, I want to spoil this book.
Don't do it. We're so close to not spoiling it.
We'll talk about
the past.
father.
Let's talk, the grandfather.
I was gonna talk about the father who murdered his family and why he did it.
We could do that. It's not a spoiler. No, it kind of is though. Ugh. You guys, we don't ever disagree. Hold on. Let me look for the part where the grandfather and his friend escape from prison by pretending to be dead. Right? They're like, people try to play dead all the time, so we'd have to be really convincing. So they lay dead for like several days, don't move. They're able to like slow down their breathing, and that's what the zombie powder does, right? It makes it look so all your biological functions have ceased, and that's why people think that they're dead. And they try that shit out, and it works. And they get sent out to a field where they just bodies are deposited. They were kind of afraid that like the people who get out are cremated, but lucky for them, that's not what happens. They just go to a field where they're just like, what did you think? Were they demons? They must have been that super powerful, or just like witch doctors.
I don't know. Like, I thought maybe they were demons, but then I was like, it's so hard to tell what's real and what's not real.
Terribly difficult. Here we go. Boom. No, not Papa Vincent, not Papa Vincent. I'm thinking of someone else.
Yeah.
And so these guys are just going back and forth. They're laughing about how bad they stink because even though they were faking death, they were basically just laying there in their own sweat and
And everything else.
and everything else, just being stupid gross.
Because they're
And so
supposed to be dead.
because they're supposed to be dead. He smells like Cyclops' scrotum, like a rhinoceros's airwax, like a leper's pustules, the breath of a lion who ate a pygmy with the pox. One couldn't beat one's this stench. And so they're just like laughing and making fun of him about like how stinky this dude is. And then they start taking off his clothes. And he's like, you know what? This motherfucker smells so bad. We should just burn him. And Placidus said, "Oh no, 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 no! I'm alive! Don't do it! Don't do it! Please, I'm alive!" Um, and the one witch doctor demon, whatever he is, was like, "Ah, man!" And then he sticks a bottle on his mouth, which burns the circle of it, and a vapor comes out of it, which I assumed to mean he was stealing his soul. I don't know what else that could be. And the other demon's like, yo, bro, you can't do that. We're gonna get in trouble. We're only supposed to take their clothes. And he was like, all right, all right. He's like, I'll give them a peanut and a cashew. Like, look at me. I'm being generous. And he was like, you know, that's not good enough. And the other, like, yeah, okay, okay, okay. So I'm gonna give him the recipe for black sand, which I meant to Google, but I did not. And I'm assuming maybe incorrectly that that's the zombie dust. And he's like, the other
Yeah, I
demon's like,
think
you
so.
know what? He was like, you know what? That's fine. He's like, give him the recipe for the black sand. It'll make him super rich. But give him also the vial of the white sand, which doesn't exist anywhere on the planet. It's like, in case he wants to like cure himself. And the demon was like, all right, all right, all right, fine. And he leaves it to him. So after that happens, Papa Vincent and Placide, they're like, you know what? We escaped. Means to an end accomplished. Bye. One took the peanut, one took the cashew, one took the white dust, one took the black dust. They crossed the river, they each took one side, and never again did they speak. But from that arose the peanut colony and the cashew colony. Peanut colony, you know, families running the business, everybody like neighbors, blah blah blah. And the cashew colony, we know that, you know, unpaid labor was taking place.
Yeah.
He was breathing zombie dust into these guys and basically had a slave colony.
Yeah.
Of these.
I'm about to switch cameras. This is driving me crazy. But do continue.
Because you live in a world of darkness.
I have lights on.
Are your windows open? Your blinds open?
Yes.
Gasp! I'm so surprised. I'm so shocked.
Oh.
Ooh. Ooh. Me no like it. No me gusta.
No me gusta.
I guess she'll just have to be
I just
a
have to
red
be
shade of black.
orange.
It's okay. I froze. I think I just froze now. We're having technical difficulties. Y'all know we
So
usually
many.
watch episodes.
So many technical difficulties. This will be
Look here.
interesting to listen to later.
It'll be fascinating. Because the book is so good. And we've got like 15 minutes left. Shout out to Germany who's playing in 15 minutes in the Euro Cup. But
time for spoilers.
No. How did they get out of the zombie camp, Tanya?
Papa Vincent shows up, his ghost, because he died. And
Don't you love how they just like left him coughing to death to go steal cashews? They didn't even offer Papa Vincent a cup of water, and he still saved them from the zombies.
Yeah, he was just coughing to death in the shed, in his hammock. And
they loved him.
You know, we treat our old so terribly.
Yeah, so he saves them, you know, and it's so funny because it's an apparition. Also, the way that they describe Cashew Man.
Placide?
Yes, the way they describe Placide is exactly what he was wearing when the demons or witch doctors took his soul. That's why I was like, oh, this is the same guy. And I guess he was the only one who could fight. Papa Vincent was the only one who could stand up to him because the zombies are coming for them, and the zombies are coming for them, and then all of a sudden they just see, they think it's somebody with a light, a lamp, but it's not. It's Papa Vincent's head glowing like a halo because he has passed on in his final moments as a ghost before he crossed over. He decided to save his ungrateful ass grandchildren who were complicit in his death. Like, wow. Oh, that's what I was going to tell you earlier. Tanya, Elantris will technically be our third zombie book because of Dread Nation.
Oh, I just snorted. Oh God, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's happening today.
I don't know. It's we're after a full moon and the solstice, and I don't know. It's hot. It's hot. You know what it is also? Like, this was not a book. Like, I read it twice because I told everybody, my family was like, listen, I'm going out on the deck. Shh. I just need like 2 hours. But we just got this book.
Yeah.
Usually we weren't supposed to do a book this month.
No, usually the way we do our book club books is like we read a bunch of books and we're like, hey, this one was really good, you should read it. And then it's like, should we do this for book club? And then we read it again with book club in mind. This time we were like, oh man, it's Caribbean Heritage Month. The hashtag Read Caribbean is going around. We should do a book from an author from the Caribbean. Yep. And then we were at the bookstore and we were like,
because we are, if you guys don't know that.
Yeah, you should know that by now.
Lucia stand up, Jamaica stand up, Barbados stand up.
You should know that by now. Yeah, so we were in the bookstore. We looked for the Caribbean section, which is the Caribbean Latin American section, but whatever.
Fair enough.
You'd think there's enough writers from both places for them to have their own sections, but
I mean, there are, but
and they do overlap. They do overlap.
They do. That's why we're like, okay, he's Puerto Rican. That's what's up.
However, it was like, is he Puerto Rican? I thought he was Dominican.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I thought he was Puerto Rican. Pretty sure I googled that.
In any case,
fact check it while you talk about this.
We picked up the book and then it was like, well, I guess we're reading this for book club, and we just posted that there was a book club. So this is one that we are not as prepared for, I guess, as we usually are.
Does it matter? Does it matter?
It's whatever. You should read it.
You should totally read it and then read it again right after. It'll take you like a Saturday, Sunday afternoon, or if you're like in bed and you just want something to do. He was born in Puerto Rico, and then he lived in DR for 2 decades for the last 2 decades. Yeah, which explains a lot. I'm looking at his picture. All right, aviators. He's got really cool sunglasses on. Yeah. And man, so that's the that's where the magic, I guess, kind of begins here, and that's where things kind of start to get tied together. And I suppose you're leaving me now.
We have to talk about the police interviews.
Ooh, yes.
So the police are interviewing these women from the lab because Professor Dr. Zombie was killed.
Dr. Professor Zombie.
Yeah, he was murdered, and they're asking about his
murder.
After
he came out from the club and realized that, oh my God, I got fire in my loins.
He's like, I'm coming alive. And the security guard. The security guard he spots as also being a zombie because zombies know these things. And he noticed that the security guard was starting to become overly friendly when he showed up every day, and in a knowing sort of way, like, I know you're a zombie.
Can we quote Boondocks real quick? Real recognize real. And you're looking mighty familiar right now.
Exactly. So he's like, okay, the security guard is a zombie, and I think he knows I might be a zombie, but I don't want everyone else to know I'm a zombie, so I'm not going to fraternize with him. And he starts taking the side door. Then when his tires get slashed by his wannabe woman, she security has to call the people to come and, you know, fix his tire. They're called AAA. I don't know what it is in Dominican Republic. And when he returns to get his car, the security guard is giving him an attitude, and the mechanic wasn't, right? The mechanic was like,
No,
oh,
he was
oh
very
shit, why are you being
deferential.
such a dick? Yeah.
He was deferential. He's like, "Oh my god, can't you see the
His
status?
status. Yeah.
Like, why are you treating him like that? Oh my god, please don't make me lose my job because this asshole over there is treating you like shit."
Right. And so Dr. Zombie, annoyed by this, he goes to HR and complains about the security guard who gets fired.
Don't you love how he's such a rule follower?
I
He's
mean,
like,
you know, when you're a zombie, you don't want to do anything that's gonna get you in trouble because
right.
draw too much attention. So security guard gets fired, and it is the security guard who meets them in an alley and I believe shoots him.
Oh no, it's in the parking lot.
The parking lot outside the club.
Mm-hmm.
Why did I pictured it as an alley?
Mm-hmm. Outside of the club, and you think I'm a punk. Shout out.
So Dr. Zombie gets shot, and the interviews throughout are the detectives interviewing the three women from the lab to kind of get an idea of who he is and what happened.
Yeah.
Isidore has his journals now and has read them.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I spoil the book.
No! You gotta I've been hedging for 53 minutes.
I'm gonna spoil the book.
Okay, fine. If you've made it this far, you have been warned multiple times that we're going to spoil the fucking book.
Hold on. I have
know
to
that I've been
coerced first.
It was against my will. Now, you need to know, because then we can do a quick flashback in the last 7 and just be like, yo, this is why this book was so crazy.
Hold on 1 second. I have to find something.
Dionyso.
Yeah.
Given Hannibal Lecter. Dionyso, aka the colonel who slashed up his wife and daughter. Who knows why? Maybe he was fed up with the import-export business.
No, I'm about to tell you why. I just don't remember the name. That's what I'm looking up.
Wait, whose name are you looking for?
I'm looking up Dionysus. Here it is.
Something.
The Colonel. Excuse me, the Colonel, Valerie's father, Adeline's husband, who came home and hacked them to death with a machete. He had Capgras syndrome. So he believed that they were imposters, not really his wife and daughter, which is why he killed them. Mm-hmm. Turns out that Dr. Zombie this whole time has been talking to the Colonel. Dionysus is the Colonel.
Dr. Who happened to eat one of his doctor's face, by the way.
Yeah.
He did that too.
Yeah. So this whole time that we thought Dr. Zombie is hanging out at the zombie bar, he's actually been hanging out at a mental institution, chatting with the Colonel who murdered his family. The masked assistants are
the orderlies.
The orderlies who've been bringing him out for visitation.
At the same time every day, because that's how scheduled in psychiatric institutions.
He describes Dionysus as having straps and Velcro and all these things keeping him together. Because he's a much older zombie.
Yeah.
The man is in a straitjacket. And then, to top it all off, the detective tells Isidore during her interview, you see, the top scientist that you and your friends keep crying over was crazier than a goat. Yes, well, at least crazier than the Colonel. completely harmless, but definitely crazier, in my opinion. And so you wonder, what do you mean he's crazy? He's, other than, being a zombie, I could see
Being
how
a
that can make you come
zombie.
off crazy.
You know what's real quick is like what you guys have to understand is throughout the book, he goes around and he's talking about what it's like to be a zombie, like all of his fears. Like he doesn't want to get rained on because, like rain would be terrible for a zombie who's not able to regenerate their cells, right? He talks about when he's with Patricia, she's like nibbling on his ear, and he's like, "Oh my God, I haven't
What if,
cleaned myself the right way. What if a
what if,
centipede crawls out into her mouth?"
yeah,
Like all of these things. And he talks about how his veins are dry and desiccated. But the thing that made me go, huh, is when they talk about he got shot and they were covered in blood.
right. Because why was he bleeding if he's a zombie? Turns out his parents are dead. They did leave him the money. It was getting paid out to him by executors of the estate. And he was attending weekly therapy. According to the will, it was required that he attend weekly therapy, and he stopped 5 weeks ago. At this
When they
point in the
started,
interview, Isidori starts crying.
because it's his fault.
He has
Because supposed
says
to
he
go
has
every
not one
Friday.
yeah, he's supposed to go every Friday. He stopped going 5 Fridays ago, and he has multiple doctors who are overseeing his
Why
care, and
did he stop going?
it was
That's his,
designated by the will, his parents' will, that he be seen by these doctors.
but why did he stop going? He stopped going because they were taking him out on the town. They were like, "Doctor, you work too hard. Come out.
Mhm.
Let us thirst trap you on a Friday. Let's see how far this goes."
Yeah. So he
Yeah.
stopped seeing his doctors. And it turns out that our Dr. Zombie actually had Cotard syndrome. He was just crazy.
It's crazy.
He was crazy as a goat, as the detective said. He actually
That
had a
goat's
mental
crazy.
illness. I don't know that goats are crazy. I don't know why he said goat.
I don't know.
Yeah, he had Cotard syndrome, which is when you believe that you are dead and a
Mhm.
zombie. And it's
Yep.
a real condition.
It's a real condition.
So this whole time, this doctor has just been mentally ill. So when you go back to the beginning and read it, and you start to read it knowing that, it's a different read.
Absolutely different. Absolutely different. Hold on, let's see if I can find the first page. The first one is an interview, but he starts off, if what the gospel says is true, Lazarus must have felt something similar when Jesus ordered him to get up and come out. Suddenly, you abandon the darkness, the confinement, the stench, your lungs fill with pure air that smells like oats or myrtle, and all of your bronchioles get to their feet for a standing ovation. And then he goes on and on and on to describe like what it's like to come out of the darkness. And I was like, what is this darkness of which you speak, sir? You know, just leaving the mental institution, psychiatric facilities. I don't want to miss misnomer it.
What?
The place you go when you need psychiatric help. That place. Yeah.
Grippy Sock Hotel.
Grippy Sock Hotel. No shoelaces allowed.
Why did it turn red when I said that I'm going to hell?
Dun, dun, dun. You should just keep your hands up like this.
Okay. Any oh no, the Greeks are gonna come after us. Don't do that. We'll
Oh.
get the cues are Brian's dad is a Q.
Oh no, this was the anime thing.
Oh, I was thinking like the
I'm thinking Pussy
cute.
Tat.
Oh, I was thinking what the Omegas do. Never mind.
I know. I didn't bark.
That's true. You did not bark, but the hands
Or is
went
that
up and the tongue came out. And yes, no, that's the barking. It's
no?
really funny because like
That's Joyride.
in any case, we find out that he actually has a real condition. And then the question is, how long has he had this condition? Because he talks about going to college as a zombie. He talks about getting this job as a zombie, and the fact that his parents' will required him to be seen by medical professionals and to have the estate paid out to him in increments means that he's been this way for some time.
And this is why I think he's Pascal. I think that what he witnessed was so traumatic. There was no possible way that he could have got away. He thought probably because he went there that he was infected as a zombie, because we never hear anything about him again after that, right? I think
Right.
that's what it is. But what we didn't talk about, like besides the fact that they were getting chased by like zombie workers um in this cashew farm, was the things that they saw. It was terrible. They saw a man pee and get his dick caught on barbed wire and it came off and he just walked away like it was nothing. They saw a mother sort of serve her family like manure and dirt and they were just eating it unfazed. They saw a kid who was flying a kite which was stuck in the tree, but when they looked at the kite in the tree, like that kite had been Charlie Brown and since Charlie Brown first came out, you know? She was
Yeah.
like, if I had to stop and think about how long it had been there, my hair would have turned gray. They witnessed horrific things. And then they got saved by a ghost.
I think the only thing, I mean, it would make sense it would make sense as to why we have Sandrine's account if he is Pascal.
Yeah.
But also, why doesn't Isidore know him if he's Pascal? Shouldn't she know him and know of him?
But if she's,
Because
I
he
mean,
would
if
have the same name. Because we don't know the doctor's name, but Isidore knows the doctor's name.
but you
So
know
wouldn't
what?
she have known his name as Pascal?
Maybe, you know, in the beginning where they ask her to give her full name and she's like, Isidore Bellamy. They're like, no, no, no. The one with all your mother's maiden name and your father's mother's maiden name and all that.
Yeah.
We don't know his name. So I don't know. But if they,
But Sandrine is Sandrine Bellamy.
yeah. But if she's just reading her cousin's account, maybe she was never there.
No, she wasn't there. Sandrine's telling her the story, but she knows Sandrine. And so if she knows Sandrine enough to, you know, have this connection where like Sandrine's telling her all this, why wouldn't she have known about Pascal as well? At least known his name. Because then if the doctor has the same name as Pascal, like wouldn't she notice like, oh, that's the same name as the cousin that Sandrine was telling me about?
There's
You
a
know,
lot
you
of
get what I'm
Pascal.
saying?
I do, but Pascal is a fairly common name. I know like 4 of them off the top of my head.
I don't know a single Pascal.
For real?
I've never met a Pascal in my entire life.
Wow.
I don't even know of somebody else's Pascal, other than you just now saying you know some. I have
You
never
do know
even.
one because our friend who we went to when we went to go see the tree and that didn't work out, her husband's name was
Who?
that. Remember when we went to walk
Oh, when
around?
we went to see the Christmas tree. His name is
Yeah.
Pascal?
Mhm.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
that's one.
And I know, and I have a cousin's ex-husband whose name is also that, and then I have a couple of people who like I grew up with.
Nope, I don't know any
They do
Pascals.
exist. They do
I mean,
exist.
I don't deny they exist. I'm just saying I don't know any Pascals. If my cousin was telling me about her cousin Pascal, and I'm like, I would think I'd be like, oh, I work with a Pascal. It's not like Mike. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Mike and Chris and Dave.
yeah. It's not Mike and Chris and Dave. It's Pascal. And
Yeah.
I don't know how popular Pascal is
That's what I was
in the
about to say.
Dominican
We should get
Republic.
stupid nerdy with it and just be like, okay, what's the popularity of the name Pascal in Haiti and the Dominican Republic?
Yeah, that I don't know. But I would still think no, like, because they know the doctor, you know what I mean? Like they know who he is. So I think it would be weird for him to be Pascal and Isidore have no idea.
The questions that we have here.
But I
It's
could
not
be
often
wrong.
that we get left with a book where we have more questions than answers. And I really love that.
Hey Stan, I didn't even notice you on here. Does Pedro count? Pedro, I think, is a common enough name where I wouldn't. Although I'd still be like, oh, my cousin's name is Pedro because Stan is a common name, right? But when I meet a Stan, I'm like, I have a cousin Stan.
You do. That's Pedro. Hi, Stan. Long time no anything. Welcome.
But yeah. Yeah, I just that's the only thing that makes me think he's not Pascal.
Yeah.
Oh, you were talking about Pedro Pascal. Oh yeah, well that's his last name though. I don't know him. No, but that's the only thing that makes me think he's. I mean, because I could see him being Pascal because it would help explain why we're getting Sandrine's story, other than
Right.
to know about more about zombies. But
Oh,
Isidore not knowing him is what makes me think that he's not Pascal.
I'm just not sure that she
Because I
really
feel like there would have been some kind of connection.
You know, there's two things. So when she's in in the final interview where she's talking, she stops at some point. Because she's like, hold on, let me find it. Stall for me. Because she was like blah 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 my, and then she stops talking.
I'm reading her last one.
Yeah. La 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 la. Also, you know, if you guys are, while Tanya reads and I just talk, tonight is season 2, episode 2 of House of the Dragon. Which, if you haven't watched, you still have time to watch episode 1 to prep for episode 2, and then after that, you have time to listen to our, if I may say so, myself, hilarious discussion of it. I will say now that if you are sensitive or the least bit prudish, you can just skip it and watch the show, because I listened back. We said some wild we said like wild enough that shout out to our homie Lakeisha, who reminded us that we were absolutely unhinged when we were talking about it, but we're not sorry, because you know, these are the things that should have happened if Lord Commander of the King's Dar was banging the Dowager Queen and caused her, you know, grandchild to be murdered in front of her daughter. But Kristen Cole. Blah, blah, blah. This is where after she starts.
So the Friday nights was actually not when he was doing therapy. It was when he was, no, I'm sorry. The Friday nights when he was doing therapy, he was also when he was visiting the Colonel, who was Dionysus. The detectives believe that he was trying to find a cure for Dionysus. And when she says, "What makes you think that deranged man?" and what were you thinking?
That's why I was like, I don't know. Could have been my husband, could have been my cousin's husband, could have been whatever, because she never gets to finish it because he drops a dossier.
So I thought she was gonna refer to the doctor as like my boyfriend, or
like she's in the club. Whew. There's so much going on there. I don't know. I look forward to reading it again after the Germany game. Because just wow, I feel like I could read this book 100 times and find something new every time, which to me is the mark of an amazing book.
Yeah, check out Wicked Weeds. It's a really good book. Here's the cover for you. Oops, that's backwards. Hold on, let me mirror.
No, it's not.
Oh, you got it. Thank you. Mine is, I didn't realize mine is mirrored. Yeah, it's a fun read. It's really short, and it'll be a fun reread. I'm looking forward to rereading it. I really, really wish there was an audiobook. I even tried to find one on YouTube and couldn't find one.
Such a shame.
It is a shame.
But Pedro, should you desire such a thing, we can't do the Spanish pronunciations, but we got you on the rest of the book.
I'm actually really good with Spanish pronunciations.
Oh, that's right.
I just don't always know what I'm saying.
Lady Miami.
Yes. shout out to Miami-Dade College, where I had to pretend to speak Spanish a lot when I was working there. Hey, run for your life. The end.
The end. Okay.
Join us July 21st for Elantris.
More shout-outs.
You want to do some shout-outs? Shout out to Stan Keith, aka Karate Stan, one of my absolute favorite cousins.
Shout out to AK.
Don't tell the others.
Shout out to AK, who didn't pop in today, but loves our shit. Shout out to Lakeisha, who just texted me, "Tonight's the night." Shout out to Ramses for tuning in for the very first time.
Yeah, tell him to talk in the comments next time, not just text you.
I will.
Because I was very confused when you kept referring to him and I wasn't seeing it.
Yeah, I know. I'll try. Shout out to us for cramming in another book.
Yeah.
When we already have another one.
I just finished Elantris yesterday.
I'm listening to the audiobook in German, which has been super duper fun because I've told you this before. The name pronunciations are better. Saturday. That's
Yeah,
really
Serini is a terrible pronunciation.
trash.
Absolutely horrible.
Oh, you know what we didn't talk about?
What?
We did in-person trivia last week. Shout out to Aaron and Filthy Diamond, our favorite bar in Brooklyn.
Yes.
Support Black-owned business and support women Black-owned business.
Yes,
Aaron,
we did in-person trivia. It was a great time. We pretty much did Pictionary, House of the Dragon Pictionary, and that was really fun. So hopefully we can do it again sometime soon, maybe for the finale or something.
Did we thug everybody into the bar to participate against their will? Maybe.
Yes, maybe perhaps.
You were there.
Well, look out for our next episode for House of the Dragon. Hopefully that should be up by Tuesday. Today is Sunday. And I may actually get this up today.
This?
Yes, for the podcast. Crossing my fingers.
Oh, for the podcast. Oh, yeah.
Crossing my fingers. I might actually get this done because I want to get it out of the way so that I can focus on House of the Dragon.
Yeah. I realize that I'm not going to be able to watch it till later tonight, but we'll talk about that offline.
Okay.
Anyway.
Well, it's been a pleasure.
Always.
Follow us on all the things. We love you. Good night.
Love you. We love books more, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need a new bookshelf.
I keep getting suggested bookshelves, and I'm just like, please leave me alone. Stop.
I have now that I'm getting rid of a stroller soon, I'm making space for another bookshelf because it's getting out of control.
Grimlock can use those little legs. He got the calves for it.
We've been walking him. Yeah. Anyway,
Grimlock is a child.
This is a child, not a dog. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you July 21st or whenever we do our next 30 Tuesday. Who knows? We'll keep you posted on that.
Ooh, right. We need a new topic.
Yeah. I talked about it while you were offline.
Oh.
Anyway, bye.
Wait. But what are we doing? I'm confused now.
I don't know.
We'll figure it out. We'll let you guys know. Look for the flyer on our Instagram.
Bye.